What's up, everybody? It is Lauren DeLisa Coleman back with you again for the Inside series at film.io, and I'm going to be bringing you a bunch of hot interviews from the Mammoth Film Festival, but we're doing something a little bit different this time. You guys know we either do interviews in advance or during, but this time we decided to do after because I want to get some perspective from the filmmakers as they kind of get around to these film festivals to kind of just see what they thought, ways that things can change and be better, and kind of share that with you guys. So we are lucky enough to have our first filmmaker with us, whose name is Steven Steelman. Welcome to the show. He has a film at the festival, or had a film at the festival, called Juiced, and so we're going to talk to him all about it right now. Steven, thanks so much for taking the time and talking to us.
Yeah.
So let's start, as we usually do, with a synopsis of Juiced.
Juiced is a modern day retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. So it's a sort of a horror slash comedy about a guy who has a roommate that annoys him, and he has a big project due, and so he's frustrated at his roommate making all this noise. It drives him to the brink of insanity. He then, if you haven't heard The Telltale Heart or read it, the spoiler alert, he kills his roommate. In The Telltale Heart, the guy gets buried in the floorboards, and then they're discovered later on, and we kind of have a more modern take on that. So it's a little bit goofy, horror-y. There's a lot of blood, but it's just kind of a fun. It's not, it's not meant to be like super taken seriously. It's kind of a lighthearted kind of horror thing.
Yeah, and you can kind of get that even in advance looking at the poster and the artwork around this, which I think is so hot. Tell me how you came to, creating this film. And I mean, were you like super inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, like since you were little or something, or what?
I remember being like 8 or 9 years old, reading The Pit and the Pendulum and The Mask of Red Death, and being terrified for the first time, like really scared from his stories. A lot of my work day to day is doing live visuals for musicians, and a lot of like concert visuals and like behind the scenes of concerts and stuff like that. And I wanted to get back into narrative, and there's a writer, Bucky Sinister, who's written some novels and has written some scripts and stuff, and I really liked his work. And him and I were talking about, like, I was like, I really want to make a narrative. I think I'm going to do a short, and he kind of sent this to me a day later, and it was not what I was anticipating doing. But I was like, oh, we have to do this. This is hilarious. This is ridiculous. Let's make this. This will be fun. So I kind of just went ahead and put the pieces together and got some folks that I liked working with, and we figured it out and shot it over a weekend in between. I think we shot it, and then I left the next day to go do visuals at a show at Red Rocks, and literally, like, I had a weekend to shoot. So I was like, shoot it in a weekend, and then I finished it over the quarantine. So yeah.
Just like insane. I love like just all these different elements. There's so much like that I could talk with you about. We don't have that much time, but I'm feeling you on the Edgar Allan Poe thing. I think that writer does tend to come to us early in our lives,
Yeah.
and it's funny because of it is a very sophisticated style, a scary style, and I think for me, I was actually more just mesmerized by his actual life, like his real life and what he was all about and everything. Just the two things coming together and how he passed. Like, it's just a very odd person. So I could see how that kind of stuck with you. But I love how you have the music, background, which I wanted to talk with you about and kind of see what impact, if any, that has on, your filmmaking, because you guys, and we'll get to, the site and how you can like follow Steven and all that. But when you go, you'll see like mad cool, like music videos and visuals, which I'd love for you to kind of just address so that people are clear on this. When you see like your favorite performer in the back, there's things going on screen. You are somebody who does that. Like, that's really kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I kind of fell into it from music videos, were kind of where I started my filmmaking career. Like, years and years ago, I used to act, and then I got a Canon 7D and kind of quickly realized that I liked being behind the camera more. But I fell in with musicians that I had known who needed music videos, and I just was like, oh, dude, I'll shoot it for you. Let me do it. And then in that process encountered someone who was like, hey, I need tour visuals for me. And then that just became I was learning After Effects on YouTube, and it just kind of expanded from there. And now it's like anytime you go to a show and you see graphics behind them, be it like an EDM festival or a pop show or whatever, like those are usually thought of ahead of time. And the big artists have custom graphics to each individual song. And so, every artist works a little bit differently, but I've gotten lucky in the fact that I've gotten to work with, I've worked with pop artists and rock and EDM and a little bit of hip hop. And so it's fun to be able to sort of take all these different genres and sort of bounce in and out and try and represent whatever the artist is doing graphically with sort of the way their songs are and stuff. And I'm lucky enough I've gotten to work with people that like I grew up listening to, which has been very cool.
I just think it's like so amazing how you've been able to bring together these talents in different ways. And I don't think even with my music industry background, I've ever talked to somebody who, there's a real human or a team of humans, right, creating these visuals, but you never like really see them. You get to talk to filmmakers, you get to talk to music video directors, but who's like, the people behind the curtain doing that kind of stuff. So when I saw that was part of your background, I was like, so cool. I hope he can like kind of speak to that and how either challenging, gratifying, whatever that is, because yeah, that's got to be like, a whole different way of using that kind of creative part of your brain, no?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that the reason I'm making shorts like Juiced is because I want to take some of my experience with that and bring that to a narrative structure. And because those experiences aren't usually very narrative, a lot of times it's you make something look cool, and the narrative and the story really exists in the song itself. So for me, it's fun to do stuff where I'm actually getting to, like tell a story. Whereas, I try and inject narrative literally into any piece that I do, because that's just what's kind of interesting. Like to have things mean something, even if it is just butterflies flying. It's like, what is the beginning, middle, and end of that? Like graphically versus it just being something that looks pretty. But more and more my interest has been telling stories narratively and stuff, and just sort of bringing what I've learned in the music videos. Like if you see Juice, the murder scene is totally like what I've done in music videos. Like it is totally inspired by there. Yeah.
So you make it seem pretty like smooth and easy about shooting all of this, but I know nothing is ever like that smooth and easy, right? Like, what was the biggest hurdle that you guys encountered, and how'd you kind of get over it?
There was the biggest issue we had with this short was just, down the line, the murder scene, there's a lot of blood. It was very difficult to clean up the blood, even though we did our best to prep that.
What'd you use?
We made fake blood, just sort of the normal kind of thing, but we had a vat of like, I want to say it was like 4 gallons of blood. And yeah, it's just like sort of, even though we put contact paper up on the cabinets and stuff, it still kind of seeped through things. So we had to like I had to pay for some refinishing things and cleaning, make sure that the place got back to how it needed to be. But the owners of the location were understanding, and they got it. And I think we did our best to really respect
Perils of shooting a horror film, right?
So, there are worse things. And I tend to try and allow the difficulties and challenges and setbacks that you encounter on a shoot to be just sort of things that you navigate towards. Like if there was one scene where we were running out of time, so it's like, okay, I guess we shoot this section handheld, and it ended up making sense for the story. That's fine. You just start to go, okay, so we'll make these deficits work for us, rather than being this thing that's going to derail the project and all of a sudden we can't finish. I think that's part of filmmaking, is just rolling with the punches.
I think so, but I also think if you've worked with recording artists like I have in the past, it just makes you be very, very adaptive, right? And so you just kind of sometimes don't know what's going to happen, and creative personalities or just things will go in a certain way, and you have to just figure it out. You have to be able to just get to whatever the end goal is. And I'm pretty sure you have had that experience too. And that may be just like your like superpower, Stephen, is because every filmmaker is gonna encounter things
Yeah.
which he or she does not expect. But in the music world, it's a whole nother level. I just don't think people understand. So, I think he probably, right, brought a little bit
It,
of that to this.
it's fun. I mean, look, just today I'm working on another project with an artist, and everything that was approved is no longer approved as of
There
this
you
morning.
go.
Like, oh well, I guess that's fine. It's just like, okay, well, as long as we're being compensated for our time properly, and at the end of the day, the artist is happy, then we do what we got to do. You
And that
know,
you
it,
have enough time or you find the time, right? You just never, you kind of just never know. And it depends on who it is. It's funny. I was watching the Janet Jackson documentary on Lifetime, which I guess was like just last weekend or whatever, the weekend before. And I had no idea that Scream took that long to shoot. I don't know if you watched it, but like at a certain point, she said that, it was supposed to be a 3 day shoot and it turned in, she can't even remember how many days. And Mark Romanek, which I guess was like at the zenith of his career at that point, you just wouldn't think you have like everybody, the top professionals, and it still is going to take you like that long and extra millions and whatever. Whoa, insane, insane.
yeah. I mean, that video, Mark Romanek is definitely even when I was younger, before I really got into filmmaking, he's always been a guy that I've really looked up to and revered his work. And yeah, I mean,
Mad
you go
creative.
you go back and watch that video. I've watched it again recently, and it's
Doesn't look
really,
any. It's not nothing that you couldn't see that was shot just yesterday, right? I mean, it looks just like it's always fresh. You can probably look at that even 10 years from now and be like, it's hot.
yeah. I mean, it's just stylistically, it's great, and it's
Yeah.
all engaging. But it is so many different elements. I mean, I'm trying to do a music video right now, and we're dealing with just the constrictions budgetarily, because music videos are very, the money isn't there unless you're really in like the Taylor
Right.
Swift realm.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, even really talented artists aren't able to get the budgets that used to exist back then, and it's, like, to make things really look at a certain quality, like, it just takes time and money. Like, there's only so much you get, unless you're willing to let someone spend 9 months just hacking away in their own home, in their room, just trying to make it look good. If someone has that level of dedication, otherwise you just need teams and concept artists and all this other crazy stuff.
How interesting. So, what do you think is going to be like next in the world of either shorts or music videos or what? I mean, because it just seems like anything goes now, and anything both great and terrifying all at the same time could happen. What's your perspective on that?
I mean, I'm a big proponent of like what's happening with XR and the volume and stuff like that. Obviously, like the Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I was lucky enough to fall in with some of the folks over at XR Studios in LA. And I worked with them and worked at there as like a creative technologist, I think is the term, for a number of months during the quarantine. And since then, I've directed a few like music performances for them on it, and just,
Ah, how have you liked that?
it's a lot of fun. And they're the best people in the world, and the technology behind it is just like, we're really at the start of it, but just the way it's going to be in the next 5 years, it's like the ability to just be like, all right, throw up the forest scene, and then all the lights are controlled via DMX, and we can adjust it, and everything's in Unreal, and we can move the tree if we need to. And it's like you're able to do green screen work without the green screen, which makes it a more rewarding thing for the artist or for the
Mm.
talent, because they're actually seeing and in some ways actually interacting with what they're seeing, rather than just staring at like a ball on a stick or a chroma background or anything like that. It's certainly not a cost saving at this point, but I think it will get to a point where we can just do some really phenomenal work.
Mm.
And it's like, if you look, I just saw this Grimes music video that was shot in XR, like her new video, and it's really cool, and it's just
Oh, I
like a
haven't
very
seen it.
interesting.
It looks hot.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's just a good use of XR in a way that doesn't feel like you're showcasing the technology.
Yeah,
I mean,
because it is a fine line, because
yeah,
you never do it just for like whatever level of technology's sake, because it just doesn't ring true.
yeah, that's what you want to do, is you want to, allow the technology to infuse into what you're doing, but still make it about either telling the story or representing the song properly. Like
Right.
that's the goal. It's not about showing the technology. And initially the stuff that you see is very like, look at our tech. And it's like, but the stuff that gets cool is when you start going, okay, this is just another tool that we can use to help tell a story. And I think that where we're headed with that, I was a big proponent of VR years ago, and I'm still interested to see where it heads. But I think we still need the tech to sort of get to the point where it's
Well,
engaging
I think it's
the
so
viewer.
true because I mean, obviously the well, actually, I think the technology was there. I remember seeing so many beautiful, I mean, colors that I had actually never seen before at like Sundance, the New Frontier section several
Uh,
years ago, like the foils and all that. So it's there. What has been missing, though, I think, is the true business model around it, and that's why I don't really believe that we have seen it kind of take off because it just, you're not you guys are creatives, but you're not doing it just for the sake of being creative, right? It has to
yeah,
have a full kind of monetary
yeah,
sustainability around it too. So, it's great to kind of do those things and forward the technology, but it really does need to kind of come full circle. And that's why, I think we're going to see more changes in the space with like emerging technology and actually being able to create like an ecosystem around it that is beneficial to those who are taking so much time and have so
yeah.
much talent in the innovation space. It's cool to be able to see a lot of these things though at film festivals, like at Mammoth. And so you went. So can you tell us what was like kind of your impression? What was the thing that you thought was like the coolest thing?
I mean, I went to my screening and I went to some of like the opening, not the opening day, but some of the Friday stuff. But I can't say that I went to the entire thing. But
Right.
um, I
Which
met,
nobody ever stays at the whole festival unless they're running it.
yeah, yeah, and it's like I found it to be run pretty damn professionally. I thought it was
Now, wait,
really,
was this your first time there?
yeah, this was my first time there. I
Okay.
don't think I thought it had been going on a lot longer, but recently I think it only started up in like 2018, this iteration. Maybe there
It's
was a previous,
relatively new.
yeah, but
And
I
I
found it,
like the vibe of it that it's like, I don't know, younger, edgier, unique kind of film festival.
yeah, the vibe was super cool. It seemed like they were inclusive of a lot of different styles and different types of filmmakers. It didn't feel like it was just catered to like, yeah, just catered to like sort of a like what, just more the Sundance kind of like indie darling type stuff. It seemed like they were kind of doing some
I feel like
genre
this is
stuff.
edge. Like your film
Yeah,
is edge. There's a lot about like, I don't know, surfers and snowboarders. It just has a
yeah,
certain feel to it, which I think doesn't really exist just yet on the circuit, which is why
yeah.
I guess they started it not long ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I personally I live in LA and I've been going to Mammoth and Bishop, California for years, and I kind of love it up there. And so I kind of selfishly submitted Juiced because I was like, I want an excuse to go up for the weekend so I can ride. And so,
Cool.
you know, uh, but that I thought they had, they've redone that theater, I guess. So they have great DCP, so everything looked great. The audience response to Juiced was better than some of the other film festivals I've gotten. So it seemed like everyone was really
Good
into
for
it,
you.
interested. And
Yeah, yeah.
I met some other filmmakers that were really cool. These two girls from NYU that just won the pitch competition there that were super nice. And they really, it seemed like they really did a great job. And it's one of those, that I was like, I can't wait to get another film in this festival as well. So I
Nice.
was I was really interested. And I'm like, I'm glad they do it, and I definitely want to support them. So I'm grateful that Juiced was able to be a part of it.
That's very cool to hear. Anything that, I don't know, that you think you would like to see at either this festival or others coming up that can be supportive to filmmakers?
God, I don't even know. Don't even know what the answer to that would be. I mean, Juiced is the first time I've really done a film, like a festival circuit. And then I have another short that I shot in November that I think I'll probably start submitting come August for the whole thing. So, but
Yeah.
it's kind of my first experience through the process, and you know, um, yeah, just anything that's willing to champion new and interesting filmmakers, and obviously like give opportunities for people from different backgrounds or ethnicities or or is sexual orientation, gender identity, stuff like that. Like, and it seems like they're inclusive. So anything that can increase inclusion for other people and just get people stuff to watch that isn't just superhero movies. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but
Right. Just
I
a
support
little bit of
anything.
broadening there, right?
Yeah, that's all. Like, don't believe me. Like, I enjoyed the new Spider-Man, but I appreciate like movies like Titan and Vortex, and anytime people are doing stuff that's new and interesting and different, like I'm on board. I'm like, hell yes.
Great.
When
Which
festivals do
is
that, so
like you doing new and interesting stuff. You guys,
fun.
if you want to be able to keep up with what Steven is doing, tell us like your URL, which I have to just say, he's one of the few filmmakers out here, I mean, who has like a real website with, you know, the music video stuff going on there, the visual performance stuff about Juice. Like, we love that. One, because it makes it easier for me to prep for you guys. But two, I'm just like, what if I wanted to buy your thing? Like, we got to be able to talk about this. I think going forward in these interviews, you guys, we're going to talk about why filmmakers sometimes are so hard to find, right? On the web. I mean, it's like everybody's so busy as it, that they're so busy shooting that they are like almost no social presence, not even a landing page on the site. What's up with that? But I was like, I love Steven already because he's like, okay, so tell us your URL.
So it's Brigantine is the name of my company. So it's B as in boy, RIGANTINE.io. So
And why is it .io?
that sounds cool.
Okay,
I
cool.
mean, it's also in the nerd tech terminology. In and out made more sense of like because in and out. I think IO is in out, right? So it's like ports and stuff like that, which is
Well, I
computery.
was just going to say that we were called film.io instead of,
Sure.
but now we're back to Filmio. But, you know, typically with anything within kind of the blockchain ish, crypto ish space, I guess starting what maybe like 3 years ago or four was like .io. So I was just wondering if, you know, you're a fan of that space or exploring, you know, this area more, whether it's digital currency, blockchain, etc. If that was something that you were up to, because I saw
Yeah.
this .io and I was like, what? Got to ask him.
Oh yeah. I mean I'm an investor in crypto and interested in a number of applications as far as blockchain goes and where it's headed. I am not an NFT creator. I have an NFT or two, but
Yet,
I'm not.
yet, I
Yeah.
think everybody's gonna have an NFT, or else like they get their like birth certificate like taken from them or something. I don't know. It seems like everybody, like your dog, is gonna have an NFT soon.
Well, I mean, some of the folks. It's funny you talk about like the behind the scenes people in the visual in the realm. I mean, I know some folks that have made visuals for me that have done incredibly well with NFTs to the point where it's
That's
like now
why I
you.
said everybody's gonna
Yeah,
have one because who wants to miss out, right?
yeah. It's probably not where I'm gonna head with stuff because I'm again more interested in story, but I could see it as being a way that we start to keep track of like, okay, you own this film. This is your token that shows that you own it. There's so many different avenues of where decentralization can take us, and so of course I'm interested and invested, and I'm excited to see where it heads. So yeah, I mean, I think the .io was part of me being forward thinking, and also part of so much of what I've done with my career has been computer based, like technology based.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the stuff that we end up using in live shows and stuff is just kind of made sense.
Okay.
I think when I started the company, it was Brigantine Films, and then I was like, well, I'm not shooting on film. I should cut this down and change it a little bit. So that was part of it.
I
So
was wondering. And any other social that you want to put out there?
my Instagram's decent. So Steven Steelman at Steven Steelman is just it. So that's about
And it's
it.
STPHEN, not V.
Stephen and then Steelman, Steelman.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
like you said, I'm more interested in making stuff, so I don't have TikTok. I don't really tweet.
No, that you don't have to have like a million, but at least the
Yeah,
basics, right? And
yeah,
so that
just a
is
couple of
that
things.
is definitely a good thing. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so glad that you would take out some time and speak with
Thanks so much
us,
for hosting me.
and I hope that Juice just keeps getting, you know, more and more great like feedback at different film festivals, and I'm, you know, interested in seeing what you do next on the music video front, like as well, and
Cool.
especially like this visuals like scenario. I don't know, I'm really intrigued about it. So yes.
Cool.
Thank you
Well,
so
thanks so
much.
much, Lauren.
Absolutely. My pleasure. All right, you guys, I hope that you have enjoyed listening to this. Definitely look out for Juiced. And of course, we have more interviews coming up for you. I am Lauren DeLisa Coleman for Film.io. This has been another episode of the Inside series. Thanks for watching.